Lisa Martinez sat in the small law office, her hands folded tightly in her lap as she tried to ignore the smirks from across the room. Her ex-husband, Jake, was there with his new wife, Amy, both dressed in expensive clothes that Lisa could never afford on her nurse salary. The lawyer, an old man named Mr. Peterson, cleared his throat and opened a thick folder on his desk. "We are here today to read the last will and testament of Frank Martinez," Mr. Peterson began, adjusting his glasses. Lisa felt a pang of sadness thinking about Uncle Frank. He had been her father's younger brother, a strange man who lived alone and rarely visited family gatherings. When he did come around, he always told wild stories about his travels and the interesting people he met. Most of the family thought he was a bit crazy. Jake leaned back in his chair and whispered something to Amy that made her giggle. Lisa knew they were here because they thought Uncle Frank might have left something valuable. Jake had always been greedy even when they were married. It was one of the many reasons their marriage had fallen apart. Mr. Peterson continued reading the formal legal language, but Lisa's mind wandered to her two children waiting at home. Emma was 16 and incredibly smart with computers, while Tyler was 12 and full of endless curiosity about everything. Both kids had been disappointed when they learned Uncle Frank had died. Despite his strange stories, he had always been kind to them and brought interesting gifts from his travels. "To my dear niece Lisa Martinez, I leave my gas station property located at 2847 Desert Highway, Phoenix, Arizona, along with all buildings, equipment, and contents therein," Mr. Peterson read aloud. Jake burst out laughing. "A gas station? That old dump on the edge of nowhere?" He turned to Amy, who was also laughing. "Honey, remember when we drove past that place last year? It looked like it was about to fall down." Amy nodded, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "I can't believe crazy Uncle Frank thought that was worth leaving to someone. Lisa, you might as well sell it for scrap metal." Lisa felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she kept quiet. She had seen the gas station once when she was younger, and Jake was right about one thing: it did look run down. The paint was peeling, the old gas pumps looked like they were from the 1980s, and there were hardly ever any customers when she had driven by. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat again, clearly uncomfortable with Jake and Amy's behavior. "There are also some personal effects in documents that Mr. Frank Martinez specifically requested be given only to Lisa." "What kind of documents?" Jake asked, suddenly interested again. "Are there bank accounts? Investment papers?" "I'm afraid I don't have those details," Mr. Peterson replied. Mr. Martinez was very specific that these items should be examined privately by Lisa alone. Jake's face darkened. "That doesn't seem fair. If there's money involved, shouldn't it be shared with the family?" Lisa finally spoke up. "Jake, we're not family anymore, remember? You made that very clear when you left me and the kids for Amy." The room fell silent for a moment. Amy shifted uncomfortably in her seat and Jake's jaw tightened. He had always hated being reminded of how he had abandoned his family. Mr. Peterson handed Lisa a set of keys and a sealed envelope. "The property transfer documents are being processed, but you can take possession immediately. I believe your uncle has left some additional instructions in that envelope." Lisa took the keys and envelope, feeling their weight in her hands. The keys were heavier than normal house keys, and the envelope was thick with multiple pages inside. "This is ridiculous," Jake said, standing up abruptly. "Lisa can barely keep her apartment, and now she's supposed to run a failing business. She'll probably lose everything within 6 months. At least she'll have something to lose," Amy added with a cruel smile. "Better than working double shifts at the hospital for the rest of her life." Lisa stood up as well, clutching the keys and envelope. "Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I appreciate everything you've done." As she walked toward the door, Jake called after her. "When you realize you can't handle this, don't come crying to me for help. You made your choice to stay stuck in your small life." Lisa paused at the door but didn't turn around. "You're right, Jake, I did make my choice. I chose to take care of our children instead of running away when things got difficult." She left the office and walked to her old car, ignoring the sounds of Jake and Amy arguing behind her. As she drove home, Lisa thought about what she would tell Emma and Tyler. They had been hoping Uncle Frank might have left them something that could help with college expenses or maybe enough money to move to a better apartment. Instead, they now owned a rundown gas station in the middle of nowhere. Lisa had no idea how to run a business, especially one that seemed to be failing. She worked long hours as a nurse just to pay their basic bills, and the thought of taking on more responsibilities felt overwhelming. When she arrived home, both kids were waiting in the living room of their small apartment. Emma looked up from her laptop while Tyler paused his video game. "So what did Uncle Frank leave us?" Tyler asked excitedly. "Did he have treasure from all his travels?" Lisa sat down on the couch between them and pulled out the keys. "He left us his gas station." Emma frowned. "The old one out on Desert Highway? Mom, that place looks like it's been closed for years." "I know," Lisa sighed. "Your father made sure to point that out too." Tyler picked up one of the keys, examining it closely. "This key looks weird, Mom. It's really heavy, and look at these strange markings on it." Lisa looked at the key Tyler was holding. He was right. It didn't look like a normal key at all. The metal seemed to shimmer slightly in the light, and there were small symbols etched into the surface that she didn't recognize. Emma set aside her laptop and took the envelope from Lisa's hands. "Can we look at what else Uncle Frank left?" Lisa nodded, and Emma carefully opened the sealed envelope. Inside were several documents, including what looked like the deed to the property, some business papers, and a handwritten letter. Emma unfolded the letter and began reading it aloud. "My dear Lisa, if you are reading this, then I am gone and you have inherited more than just a simple gas station. I know this must seem like a burden, but I promise you it is actually a great gift. Look carefully at everything I have left behind. The truth is hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone smart enough to see it. Trust your children. They will understand things that adults often miss. Be careful who you trust, but don't be afraid to accept help when it comes from unexpected places. Your Uncle Frank." The three of them sat in silence for a moment, staring at the strange letter. "What do you think he meant by more than just a simple gas station?" Tyler asked. Emma was examining the other papers in the envelope. "Some of these documents look really weird, Mom. This one has coordinates on it, and this other paper has numbers that look like some kind of code." Lisa felt a mixture of confusion and curiosity growing inside her. Uncle Frank had always been mysterious, but this felt different. Maybe there really was more to the gas station than met the eye. "I think we need to go see this place for ourselves," Lisa said finally. "Tomorrow is Saturday, so we can drive out there and look around." Tyler jumped up excitedly. "This is like a real treasure hunt." Emma was more cautious but equally interested. "We should be careful, Mom. If Uncle Frank was hiding something, there might be a reason he kept it secret." Lisa looked at her two children and felt a spark of hope for the first time in months. Maybe Jake was wrong. Maybe this inheritance wasn't just another burden, but actually an opportunity for their family to have something better. Little did they know that their lives were about to change in ways they could never have imagined. The next morning, Lisa drove out to the gas station with Emma and Tyler. The desert highway stretched endlessly in both directions, with nothing but sand and scrub brush visible for miles. When they finally reached the property, Lisa pulled into the empty parking lot and turned off the engine. The gas station looked even worse than she remembered. The paint was faded and peeling, revealing patches of bare metal underneath. Two old gas pumps stood like ancient guardians, their digital displays dark and cracked. A small convenience store sat attached to the main building, its windows so dirty that it was impossible to see inside. Tyler was the first to get out of the car, running toward the building with excitement. "Come on, let's see what Uncle Frank was hiding." Emma followed more slowly, taking pictures with her phone. "This place is really isolated, Mom. The nearest building is probably 20 miles away." Lisa used the strange heavy key to unlock the front door of the convenience store. The door opened with a loud creak and they stepped inside. The air smelled musty and old, like the building had been closed up for years. Dust covered everything and empty shelves lined the walls. "It looks like Uncle Frank wasn't selling much," Emma observed, walking between the empty aisles. Tyler had already found a door behind the counter marked office and was trying to open it. "This door's locked too, Mom." Lisa tried several of the keys from Uncle Frank's key ring until she found one that worked. The office was small and cramped, filled with old filing cabinets and a desk covered in papers. But what caught their attention immediately was a narrow staircase leading upward. "There's an upstairs?" Tyler asked, already heading for the stairs. The stairs led to a larger room above the convenience store that had clearly been Uncle Frank's living space. There was a small kitchen, a bed, and what looked like a workshop area, but this room was far from ordinary. Electronic equipment covered several tables, including devices that looked much more advanced than anything Lisa had ever seen. Multiple computer monitors were arranged in a semicircle, all currently dark. Maps of the world covered one entire wall, with various locations marked by colored pins. Emma moved to examine the computer setup more closely. "Mom, this equipment is incredible. Some of these machines look like they cost more than our car." Tyler had found a large filing cabinet and was trying to open the drawers. "These are locked too, but look at this." He pointed to a small device mounted next to the cabinet that looked like a hand scanner. Lisa pressed her palm against the scanner, not really expecting anything to happen. To her surprise, a green light flashed and she heard a soft click as the filing cabinet unlocked. "How did Uncle Frank program it to recognize your hand?" Emma asked. "I have no idea," Lisa replied, pulling open the first drawer. Inside were dozens of folders filled with documents, photographs, and what looked like technical blueprints. Emma picked up one of the folders and opened it. Her eyes grew wide as she flipped through the pages. "Mom, you need to see this. These documents are talking about something called Project Gateway, and there are communications here with groups that have really strange names." Lisa looked over Emma's shoulder at the papers. The documents were filled with technical language she didn't understand. But certain phrases caught her attention: first contact protocols, galactic trade agreements, and species integration timeline. Tyler had discovered another locked door and was examining the lock. "This one doesn't use a regular key. It looks like it needs some kind of card or code." Emma was now examining the computer equipment more closely. "I think I can get these computers working, Mom. They're connected to some kind of private network." While Emma worked on the computers, Lisa continued exploring the room. In the corner, she found a small safe that also opened with her handprint. Inside was a collection of items that made no sense at all. Small crystalline objects that seemed to glow with their own light, metal devices with no obvious purpose, and photographs of things that looked like they couldn't possibly exist. One photograph showed Uncle Frank standing next to what appeared to be a person in a strange silver suit. The figure's face was hidden behind a reflective helmet, but their proportions seemed somehow wrong, too tall and thin to be entirely human. "Got it," Emma called out suddenly. The computer monitors came to life, displaying screens full of data and star charts. Tyler ran over to look. "Are those maps of space?" Emma navigated through the computer files, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "These aren't just space maps, Tyler. They're showing locations of planets. And look at this. There are notes about which ones have intelligent life." Lisa joined them at the computers, feeling increasingly confused and amazed. "Emma, can you understand any of this?" "Some of it," Emma replied, opening more files. "Uncle Frank was definitely communicating with someone, but the messages are partially encrypted. Wait, here's something called Earth Integration Phase 3, and it's dated just 2 months ago." Tyler had wandered back to the locked door and was examining it more carefully. "Mom, I think this scanner thing needs both a handprint and one of those crystal things from the safe." Lisa retrieved one of the glowing crystals and returned to the door. When she placed her hand on the scanner and held the crystal near a small slot, the door clicked open. Behind the door was a staircase leading downward to what must have been a basement. The stairs were made of the same strange metal as the keys, and they seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. "Should we go down there?" Tyler asked, peering into the darkness below. Emma had found a flashlight among Uncle Frank's equipment. "Let's stick together and be careful." The basement was much larger than the building above, extending far beyond what should have been possible given the size of the gas station. The walls were lined with the same glowing metal, and the air felt different down there, cleaner and somehow charged with energy. Along one wall were several large containers that hummed softly with power. Emma shined the flashlight on them, revealing sleek machines with digital displays showing various readings and measurements. "These look like some kind of storage units," Emma said, examining the displays. "And they're definitely working. Look at all these lights and numbers." Tyler had found another computer terminal built into the wall. When he touched the screen, it came to life, showing a three-dimensional map of what looked like their local area, but with additional structures marked underground. "There are tunnels down here," Tyler said excitedly, "and they go for miles in different directions." Lisa was examining what appeared to be a communications array mounted on another wall. Despite her lack of technical knowledge, Even she could tell this was equipment far beyond anything that should exist in a simple gas station. Emma had connected her phone to one of the computer terminals and was downloading files. "Mom, I'm copying as much of this data as I can. We need to study this more carefully at home." "This is incredible," Tyler said, running his hands along the metal walls. "It's like Uncle Frank was living in a science fiction movie." Lisa found a large logbook sitting on a desk near the communications equipment. Opening it, she saw pages and pages of entries in Uncle Frank's handwriting, documenting meetings, conversations, and activities that seemed impossible. One entry from just a few months before Uncle Frank's death caught her attention. "The Council has approved humanity's probationary membership. Earth integration will begin slowly to avoid cultural shock. Emergency protocols established in case of premature discovery. Lisa must be prepared. She doesn't know it yet, but she's the best choice to continue this work." "Emma, Tyler, come look at this," Lisa called, her voice shaking slightly. They gathered around as Lisa read the entry aloud. When she finished, the three of them stood in silence, trying to process what they had just learned. "Uncle Frank was in contact with aliens?" Tyler asked, his voice filled with wonder rather than fear. Emma was more skeptical. "This could all be an elaborate hoax, Mom. Maybe Uncle Frank was just really into science fiction and created all this as some kind of fantasy." But even as Emma said it, she didn't sound entirely convinced. The technology they had found was too advanced, too real to be just props for a game. Lisa closed the logbook and looked around the basement one more time. Whatever Uncle Frank had been involved in, it was clear that their inheritance was far more than just a failing gas station. "We need to be very careful about who we tell about this," Lisa said finally. "If even part of this is real, it could be dangerous if the wrong people found out." Tyler nodded seriously. "Like Dad and Amy. They would definitely try to take this away from us." Emma was already thinking practically. "We should make copies of everything and store them in different places. And we need to learn as much as we can before we decide what to do next." As they prepared to leave the basement, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She looked around one more time but saw nothing unusual. Still, Uncle Frank's words from the logbook echoed in her mind. She was supposed to continue his work, whatever that work actually was. The drive home was quiet, each of them lost in their own thoughts about what they had discovered. Lisa knew their lives had just changed forever, but she had no idea how much more change was still to come. For 3 days after their first visit to the gas station, Lisa couldn't concentrate on anything else. She made mistakes at work, forgot to respond to her supervisor's questions, and found herself staring off into space during her shifts at the hospital. Emma spent every free moment analyzing the files she had downloaded, while Tyler drew pictures of the underground chamber and pestered his sister with endless questions about aliens. On Wednesday evening, Emma finally made a breakthrough. She had been working on decrypting some of the communications files when her laptop screen suddenly filled with new information. "Mom!"
"Tyler, come here right now."
Emma shouted from her bedroom. Lisa and Tyler rushed in to find Emma staring at her screen with a mixture of excitement and fear. The computer was displaying what looked like a real-time communication interface, complete with incoming message alerts. "I think I accidentally activated some kind of automatic response system," Emma explained quickly. "When I tried to decode this one file, it connected to something and now there are messages coming in." Tyler leaned over her shoulder to read the screen. "Those aren't in English, are they?" Emma shook her head. "No, but the computer is translating them automatically. Look at this one. Urgent notification. Frank Martinez communication system reactivated. Requesting immediate status confirmation from designated successor." Lisa felt her heart racing. Emma shut it down. "This might be dangerous." "I can't, Mom. It won't let me close the connection. And there's more coming in." Another message appeared. "Earth Liaison Protocol 7 has been initiated. Emergency contact procedures are now active. Please confirm identity and intention to continue diplomatic relations." The three of them stared at the screen in stunned silence. Finally, Tyler spoke up. "I think we need to go back to the gas station. Whatever this is, Uncle Frank probably has better equipment there to handle it." Lisa knew Tyler was right, but the thought of returning to that underground chamber filled her with anxiety. Still, they clearly couldn't ignore what was happening. Within an hour, they were driving through the desert again as the sun set behind them. This time, Lisa felt like they were crossing into a completely different world rather than just visiting an old gas station. Emma brought her laptop along, and the messages continued to arrive during the drive. Most were requests for status updates, but one message was different. Automated systems indicate Frank Martinez's biological signature terminated 37 days ago, requesting confirmation of successor authorization for continued operations. When they reached the gas station, Lisa used Uncle Frank's keys to get them inside and down to the basement. This time, she noticed that several of the machines were displaying different readings than before, and the whole chamber seemed more active. Emma connected her laptop to the main computer system, and immediately the large wall screen came to life. A three-dimensional star map appeared, showing their solar system as just one tiny point among thousands of others. "This is unbelievable," Emma whispered, manipulating the display to zoom in on different star systems. "According to this map, there are inhabited planets everywhere." Tyler was examining the communications equipment. "Look, Mom, there's a microphone here and what looks like a video camera. I think Uncle Frank used to talk to aliens from this room." Before Lisa could stop him, Tyler had pressed what appeared to be an activation button. The room filled with a soft humming sound and several screens came to life around them. A calm electronic voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Emergency contact protocol activated. Scanning for authorized personnel. Lisa Martinez identified as designated successor. Please confirm intention to maintain diplomatic relations with the Galactic Trade Consortium." Lisa's mouth fell open. The system knew who she was. Hello?" Lisa said hesitantly toward what she thought might be a microphone. "Greetings, Lisa Martinez. I am the automated diplomatic interface for Earth Station 1. Your genetic signature matches Frank Martinez's emergency succession protocols. Do you wish to assume his role as Earth's liaison to the Galactic Trade Consortium?" Emma grabbed Lisa's arm. "Mom, be careful what you say. We don't know what we're agreeing to." But before Lisa could respond, the main screen changed to show what looked like a live video feed. 3 figures appeared on the screen, and they were definitely not human. The first figure looked somewhat like a person, but was covered in what appeared to be blue-green scales and had large, dark eyes. The second was taller and thinner, with skin that seemed to shimmer like metal. The third was the most unusual. It appeared to be made of pure energy, constantly shifting and glowing with different colors. "Frank Martinez, we have been trying to contact you for days," the scaled figure said in perfect English. "The trade summit is scheduled to begin next week, and we need to confirm Earth's participation." Tyler stepped forward before Lisa could stop him. "Uncle Frank died over a month ago. This is his niece Lisa, and we just found out about all this." The 3 aliens looked at each other, communicating in rapid sounds that the computer didn't translate. Finally, the energy being spoke. "This is most unfortunate timing. Frank Martinez assured us that succession protocols were in place, but we did not expect the transition to occur so close to the summit." The tall, metallic figure leaned forward. "Lisa Martinez, are you prepared to assume responsibility for Earth's diplomatic relations with our consortium? This is not a decision to be made lightly." Lisa felt overwhelmed. Just a week ago, her biggest worry had been paying the rent on time. Now aliens were asking her to be Earth's representative to some kind of galactic government. "I don't understand any of this," Lisa said honestly. "What is the Galactic Trade Consortium? What kind of diplomatic relations? And why was my uncle involved in something this important?" The scaled figure, who seemed to be the leader, settled back in what appeared to be a chair. "Perhaps we should explain from the beginning. I am Commander Zeph of the Nerid species. My colleagues are Engineer Koto of the Mentari and Diplomat Vex of the Luminar Collective." Commander Zeph continued. "The Galactic Trade Consortium is an alliance of over 3,000 intelligent species across this galaxy. We facilitate peaceful trade, cultural exchange, and mutual protection among member worlds." Engineer Koto spoke up. "Your species has been under observation for approximately 100 of your years. Frank Martinez was recruited 30 years ago, when we determined that humanity was approaching technological readiness for contact." "Observation?" Emma asked, stepping closer to the screen. "You mean you've been watching us?" Diplomat Vex's energy form pulsed with different colors as it spoke. "All developing species are monitored to determine their suitability for membership. Most species destroy themselves before achieving interstellar capability. Humans have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability. Commander Zeph nodded. Frank Martinez served as Earth's secret liaison, gradually preparing your species for eventual open contact. He provided us with cultural information and helped us understand human psychology and society. Tyler raised his hand like he was in school. What kind of trade do you do? Do you have spaceships and laser guns and stuff? Engineer Koto made a sound that might have been laughter. We trade in many things, young Tyler Martinez. Advanced technologies, medical knowledge, cultural arts, and rare materials. Your species produces some of the most unique cultural expressions we have encountered. Cultural expressions? Lisa asked. Diplomat Vex glowed brighter. Human music, literature, and visual arts are highly prized throughout the galaxy. The emotional depth and creativity of your species is extremely rare. Most intelligent life develops along purely logical paths. Commander Zeph leaned forward again, which brings us to our current situation. The trade summit next week will determine Earth's full membership status in the consortium. Frank Martinez was to present humanity's case for inclusion. And now you want me to do it? Lisa asked, feeling panic rising in her chest. The alternative is that Earth remains isolated until another human can be trained, which could take decades, Engineer Koto explained. During that time, your species might encounter other galactic powers who are less friendly than we are. Emma had been listening intently to everything. What do you mean by less friendly? The three aliens exchanged glances again before Commander Zeph answered. There are factions within the galaxy who believe young species should be conquered rather than welcomed as equals. If Earth is not under consortium protection, these groups might decide to take action. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Uncle Frank had somehow become Earth's guardian, and now that role was being passed to her. The thought was terrifying, but she looked at Emma and Tyler and knew she couldn't let anything happen to them or the rest of humanity. What would I have to do? Lisa asked quietly. Diplomat Vex's form shifted to a calmer blue color. Attend the summit as Earth's representative. Present evidence that humanity is ready for galactic citizenship. Negotiate trade agreements that will benefit your world. I'm just a nurse, Lisa protested. I don't know anything about diplomacy or trade negotiations. Commander Zeph smiled, an expression that looked strange on his scaled face but somehow seemed genuine. Frank Martinez was just a mechanic when we first contacted him. Sometimes the best ambassadors are those who understand what ordinary life is like for their species. Lisa spent a sleepless night thinking about the decision she had to make. She kept imagining herself trying to represent all of humanity to beings she couldn't even understand. And the thought made her stomach twist with anxiety. But every time she considered saying no, she thought about Tyler's words about protecting Earth. And Emma's faith in her abilities. The next morning, she called in sick to work, which she had never done unless she or the children were actually ill. Emma and Tyler both insisted on coming with her to the gas station instead of going to school. This is more important than algebra, Emma argued. Besides, I want to learn more about their technology. Tyler nodded eagerly. And I want to ask them more questions about space and other planets. When they arrived at the gas station, Lisa noticed something different immediately. There were 3 vehicles in the parking lot that definitely hadn't been there before. They looked like normal cars from a distance, but as they got closer, Lisa could see that they were too smooth, too perfect, and they seemed to hum with quiet energy. I think our alien friends decided to visit in person, Emma said, taking pictures with her phone. Inside the convenience store, they could hear voices coming from the basement. Lisa led the way downstairs where they found the 3 aliens they had spoken to the day before, but now they were physically present in the chamber. Commander Zeph looked even more impressive in person. He was about 7 feet tall, with blue-green scales that seemed to shift color slightly as he moved. Engineer Koto was thinner than any human, with silver skin that reflected the lights in the room. Diplomat Vex was the most amazing, a constantly shifting form of pure energy that maintained a roughly humanoid shape. Lisa Martinez, Commander Zeph said, turning to greet them. We decided that this conversation would be better conducted in person. I hope you don't mind our early arrival. Tyler was staring openly at the aliens, his mouth hanging open. You're really real. I mean, I believed it yesterday, but seeing you here is incredible. Engineer Koto made that sound that might have been laughter again. We are indeed real, young Tyler. Would you like to examine some of our equipment while your mother and Commander Zeph discuss business? Emma stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming any fear. How did you get here so fast? And how do your ships stay hidden from our satellites and radar? Diplomat Vex pulsed with warm colors. Your sister asks excellent questions, Tyler. We would be happy to show you both some basic technology while the adults talk. Lisa felt nervous about letting her children explore alien technology. But Commander Zeph seemed to understand her concern. They will be perfectly safe, he assured her. In fact, their questions might help us understand human learning patterns better. Commander Zeph led Lisa to a corner of the chamber, where Uncle Frank had set up a small meeting area with chairs and a table. Please sit down. There is much we need to discuss. As they sat, Lisa could hear Emma asking rapid-fire questions about faster-than-light travel, while Tyler wanted to know if there were any planets with dinosaurs. The aliens seemed genuinely enjoying answering their questions. Your children are remarkable, Commander Zeph observed. They show the curiosity and adaptability that first attracted us to your species. What exactly did attract you to humans? Lisa asked. You mentioned yesterday that most species develop along logical paths, but humans are different. Commander Zeph settled back in his chair, which seemed to adjust itself automatically to his body. Most intelligent species achieve technology through pure rationality and logic. They solve problems systematically and advance steadily, but they also tend to become rigid in their thinking. He gestured toward where Engineer Kodo was showing Emma a device that created three-dimensional images in the air. Humans combine logic with emotion, intuition, and creativity in ways we have rarely seen. You make breakthrough discoveries through inspiration as much as calculation. But we also fight wars and damage our environment, Lisa pointed out. Surely that makes us too dangerous for your consortium. On the contrary, Commander Zeph replied, species that have never faced real challenges often collapse when they encounter their first major crisis. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters. Your resilience is extraordinary. Diplomat Vex drifted over to join their conversation. There is something else that makes humans unique, Lisa Martinez. You have the ability to see beauty and meaning in struggle itself. Your art, music, and literature often celebrate the process of overcoming difficulties rather than just the victory. Lisa thought about that for a moment. Is that really so unusual? Extremely unusual, Engineer Koto called out from across the room, where he was now showing Tyler how their communication devices worked. Most species create art to document facts or demonstrate technical skill. Humans create art to express feelings and experiences that cannot be captured any other way. Commander Zeph leaned forward, which brings us to the practical matter at hand. The trade summit next week will include representatives from 47 different species. Many of them have never encountered a species quite like humanity. What am I supposed to tell them? Lisa asked. I still don't understand what Earth has to offer that's so valuable. Diplomat Vex's form brightened. Your planet produces cultural treasures that are literally priceless in galactic terms. A single human song with emotional depth can trade for enough rare metals to build a starship. Lisa stared at the energy, being in disbelief. You're joking. Not at all, Commander Zeph said seriously. We have been trading human cultural exports for 30 years through Frank Martinez. The profits from that trade have been stored in quantum storage facilities beneath this building. Stored how much? Lisa asked weakly. Engineer Koto looked up from the device he was demonstrating. Approximately 200 million credits in galactic currency, plus technological equipment worth several times that amount. Lisa felt dizzy. 200 million credits? What does that mean in Earth money? There is no direct conversion, Commander Zeph explained, because your planet does not yet have access to the materials and technologies that give galactic currency its value. But in practical terms, it represents enough resources to solve most of your world's current problems. Emma had been listening to this conversation while examining an alien computer tablet. Mom, I think I'm starting to understand. Uncle Frank wasn't just talking to aliens. He was running Earth's first export business to other planets. Tyler was holding what looked like a crystal that displayed moving pictures inside it. And now Mom gets to take over the family business, except the family business is trading with the entire galaxy. Commander Zeph smiled at Tyler's summary. That is remarkably accurate, young Tyler. Lisa was trying to wrap her mind around the implications. So when you talk about Earth joining the consortium, you mean we would officially become part of a galactic economy? Much more than that, Diplomat Vex explained. Consortium membership includes access to advanced medical knowledge that could extend human lifespans and eliminate most diseases, clean energy technology that would solve your environmental problems, educational exchanges that would advance your science by centuries. Engineer Koto added, plus protection from hostile species and access to uninhabited worlds suitable for human colonization when your population is ready for expansion. But there has to be a catch, Lisa said. This all sounds too good to be true. Commander Zeph's expression became more serious. The catch is that not everyone in the galaxy believes young species should be welcomed as equals. There are factions who think Earth should be conquered and its resources claimed by more advanced civilizations. The trade summit next week will include representatives from some of those factions. Diplomat Vex added, its form shifting to darker colors. They will argue that humans are too primitive, too violent, and too unpredictable to be trusted with galactic technology. Emma looked up from the alien tablet she was studying. So Mom has to convince them that we're worth saving? More than that, Engineer Koto said. She has to convince them that humanity will be a valuable contributor to galactic civilization, not just a protected species that needs help. Tyler set down the crystal he was holding and walked over to Lisa. Mom, you spend every day taking care of people who are sick and scared. You've been taking care of me and Emma by yourself for 3 years. If anyone can convince aliens that humans are worth protecting, it's you. Lisa felt tears forming in her eyes. Her 12-year-old son had more confidence in her than she had in herself. Commander Zeph stood up. You do not have to decide right now, but we do need an answer by tomorrow evening. The summit begins in 5 days, and there are preparations to be made if you agree to attend. What kind of preparations? Lisa asked. Cultural briefings on the different species you will meet, Diplomat Vex explained. Basic galactic law and trade protocols, and most importantly, training in how to present humanity's strengths while acknowledging your limitations. Engineer Koto approached with a small device in his hands. This is a universal translator and cultural interface. If you decide to proceed, it will help you communicate with species whose languages and thought patterns are very different from human norms. Over the next 3 days, Lisa's entire understanding of reality continued to change. Commander Zeph, Engineer Koto, and Diplomat Vex had set up what they called a cultural preparation center in the basement of the gas station, filling it with holographic displays, alien computers, and educational materials from across the galaxy. Emma spent most of her time learning about alien technologies, while Tyler was fascinated by the different species they would meet at the summit. Lisa found herself overwhelmed by the complexity of galactic politics and economics, but gradually began to understand why Uncle Frank had been so secretive about his work. The quantum storage facility contains the accumulated wealth from 30 years of cultural trade. Engineer Koto explained as he led them through a newly opened section of the underground complex. Frank Martinez was far more successful than even we anticipated. The storage area was enormous, extending much further underground than seemed possible. Rows of crystalline containers lined the walls, each one glowing softly with internal light. Computer displays showed constant streams of data tracking various investments and trade agreements. Each of these containers holds different types of galactic currency, Diplomat Vex explained, its energy form brightening as it moved between the storage units. Rare elements, compressed energy matrices, technological blueprints, and cultural artifacts from hundreds of different worlds. Tyler was running between the containers, staring at the different colored lights. How much is all this worth? Commander Zeph consulted a handheld device. In galactic terms, approximately 215 million standard trade credits. But the value is much greater when you consider the strategic importance of having early access to advanced technologies. Emma was examining a container that seemed to hold swirling clouds of colored gas. What exactly did Uncle Frank trade to get all this? Human cultural exports, Engineer Koto replied, bringing up a holographic display that showed Uncle Frank's trade records. Music, literature, visual art, culinary recipes, and what you might call emotional intelligence documentaries. Lisa stared at the display in amazement. He was selling human songs and recipes to aliens? Not selling, Diplomat Vex corrected. Trading. And not just any human cultural products, specifically those that demonstrated the emotional depth and creativity that makes your species unique. Commander Zeph manipulated the display to show specific trade transactions. For example, A collection of jazz music from your 20th century, traded for enough rare earth elements to power your entire planet for a year. A series of poetry books brought in medical technologies that could cure most human diseases. A cookbook featuring regional dishes from around Earth, Engineer Koto added, was exchanged for water purification systems that could solve your planet's clean water shortage. Tyler's eyes were huge. Uncle Frank saved the world just by sharing human stuff with aliens? More than saved, Diplomat Vex said, pulsing with warm colors. He positioned Earth to become one of the wealthiest worlds in this sector of the galaxy, if humanity can successfully join the consortium. Emma was studying the trade records more carefully. I don't understand how human culture can be so valuable. Aren't there other species that create art and music? Commander Zeph settled into a chair that had materialized from the floor. Most species create what you might call functional art, works that serve specific purposes or demonstrate technical mastery. Very few species create art purely to express emotions or explore the meaning of existence. Your music in particular is extraordinarily rare, Engineer Koto explained. Most galactic species use organized sound patterns for communication or data storage. The idea of creating complex audio experiences solely to evoke emotional responses is almost unique to humanity. Diplomat Vex drifted closer to Lisa. There is a recording of something called blues music that Frank Martinez provided, which has become legendary among the energy-based species. We had never encountered sounds that could convey such deep feelings of loss and hope simultaneously. Lisa shook her head in wonder. I never thought about human culture being special. It's just normal to us. That is exactly why it is so valuable, Commander Zeph said. You create beauty and meaning without conscious effort, as naturally as breathing. Most species have to work very hard to achieve even simple emotional expression. Tyler had discovered a section of the storage area that contained what looked like Earth artifacts. Are these things from our planet? Engineer Koto nodded. Frank Martinez occasionally acquired items to demonstrate human creativity to potential trading partners. That section contains musical instruments, artwork, books, and food samples from various Earth cultures. Emma joined Tyler in examining the Earth artifacts. Look at this, Mom. Uncle Frank had samples of foods from every continent. And these musical instruments. Some of them look really old and valuable. Lisa was beginning to understand the scope of Uncle Frank's operation. He wasn't just trading randomly. He was carefully selecting examples of human culture that would be most impressive to aliens. Precisely, Diplomat Vex confirmed, and his selections were extraordinarily successful. Earth's cultural exports are now considered premium commodities in several galactic sectors. Commander Zeph brought up another display showing current market conditions. Human jazz music currently trades at 4,000 credits per standard composition. Poetry translates to approximately 2,000 credits per work. And something called fusion cuisine, the combination of cooking styles from different cultures, is valued at up to 10,000 credits per recipe collection. Tyler was doing math in his head. If Mom writes down all of Grandma's recipes, we could be rich. Wealthy beyond your current understanding, Engineer Koto confirmed. But more importantly, you would be contributing to galactic cultural diversity and strengthening Earth's position in the consortium. Emma had found a computer terminal and was accessing the trade databases. This is incredible, Mom. According to these records, there are standing orders from dozens of species for more human cultural products. They're willing to pay enormous amounts for things we take for granted. Lisa was starting to feel overwhelmed again. But I don't know anything about managing interstellar trade. How am I supposed to handle all of this? Diplomat Vex's form shifted to reassuring blue tones. Frank Martinez started with no knowledge of galactic economics either. The key is to understand that you are not just selling products. You are sharing the essence of what makes humanity unique. Commander Zeph stood and walked to a large display showing trade routes between star systems. The consortium values cultural diversity because it drives innovation. When different species share their unique perspectives and creations, everyone benefits. Your role would not be to become a galactic businesswoman overnight, Engineer Koto explained. You would be Earth's cultural ambassador, helping to identify and present the best examples of human creativity to interested species. Tyler had discovered a section containing recorded performances. by human musicians and was watching alien audiences react to the music. Look at this. These aliens are crying during a violin solo. Emma joined him at the display. And these ones are doing some kind of dance during a rock concert. They really do love human music. Lisa watched the recordings of aliens experiencing human culture for the first time. Their reactions were genuine and emotional, proving that Uncle Frank's work had been about more than just trade. It had been about building bridges between species. What happens to all of this if I fail at the summit? Lisa asked quietly. The three aliens exchanged glances before Commander Zeph answered. If Earth is denied consortium membership, these assets would be placed in protective custody until humanity is deemed ready for galactic contact. But that could take centuries. And in the meantime, Diplomat Vex added, its form darkening slightly, other factions might decide that Earth's resources are too valuable to leave unprotected. Hostile acquisition of developing worlds is not unknown in galactic history. Emma looked up from the computer terminal where she had been studying trade agreements. You mean some aliens might try to take over Earth just to control our cultural exports? Engineer Koto nodded grimly. Cultural products that generate this level of galactic interest often attract unwanted attention from expansionist species. Tyler had stopped watching the performance recordings and was now looking worried. So if Mom does well at the summit, Earth gets protected and rich. But if she doesn't do well, bad aliens might try to conquer us. The situation is more complex than that, Commander Zeph said carefully. But yes, that is essentially correct. Lisa sat down heavily in the nearest chair. No pressure at all. Diplomat Vex drifted over to her. Lisa Martinez, you must understand that Frank Martinez faced the same pressure 30 years ago, when he first agreed to represent Earth. The difference is that now humanity has 30 years of successful cultural trade to point to as evidence of your species' value. Plus, Emma added, looking at the trade records, Uncle Frank left detailed notes about which species are most interested in human culture and what kinds of presentations work best with different audiences. Tyler was examining a display showing the different species they would meet at the summit. Fert will be there to help, Mom. Emma can handle all the technical stuff, and I can ask questions that make, and everything changed on Thursday morning when Lisa received an unexpected phone call from Jake's lawyer. The call came while she was at the gas station, reviewing cultural presentation materials with her alien advisors. Lisa, this is Gary Henderson from Henderson and Associates, the voice said. I represent your ex-husband, Jake Martinez, in a matter concerning the inheritance you recently received. Lisa felt her stomach drop. What kind of matter? Jake believes there may have been irregularities in Frank Martinez's will. He's requesting a full accounting of all assets associated with the gas station property, and he's prepared to file a legal challenge if necessary. Emma, who had been working nearby, looked up with concern. Tyler stopped playing with an alien crystal he had been examining. Jake gave up any claim to Uncle Frank's property when we divorced, Lisa said firmly. He's not even a blood relative. That may be true, the lawyer replied, but Jake has reason to believe that significant valuable assets were hidden from the probate court. If that's the case, the entire will could be invalidated. Lisa ended the call and immediately told Commander Zeph what had happened. The alien leader's scaled face showed clear concern. This is most troubling, Commander Zeph said. How could your former husband have learned about the hidden assets? Emma was already working at one of the computer terminals. I've been monitoring local internet traffic for any mentions of unusual activity at the gas station. Look at this. The screen showed surveillance footage from a traffic camera on the desert highway. A black SUV was parked about a mile from the gas station, and the timestamp showed it had been there for several hours the previous day. Someone's been watching us, Tyler said, peering at the image. Engineer Koto manipulated the image to enhance the details. The vehicle contains electronic surveillance equipment. Whoever is operating it has been monitoring electromagnetic emissions from this facility. Diplomat Vex's energy form flickered with agitated colors. If hostile parties have detected our technology signatures, this could compromise not just Earth's membership bid, but also the safety of our diplomatic team. Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. What do we do? Before anyone could answer, the building's security systems activated. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber and an automated voice announced, "Unauthorized personnel approaching facility. Multiple vehicles detected. Through the security monitors, they could see a convoy of black vehicles pulling into the gas station parking lot. Men in dark suits were getting out and spreading around the building. "They're surrounding us," Emma said, watching the monitors with growing fear. Commander Zeph was already activating communication systems. Emergency Protocol 7. Request immediate extraction support. Tyler was watching one of the monitors that showed the front entrance. "Mom, that's Dad getting out of the lead car, and Amy's with him." Lisa's anger flared. Jake had brought strangers to threaten her children and potentially expose Earth's contact with alien civilization. "There's something else," Emma said, pointing to another monitor. "That man talking to Dad, I've seen him before. He was in the background of some news reports about government UFO investigations." Engineer Koto was scanning the approaching vehicles with alien sensors. "Multiple electronic warfare devices detected. These are not ordinary legal representatives. They're jamming our communications," Diplomat Vex reported, its form now pulsing with urgent red tones. Lisa made a decision. "I'm going up to talk to them. I won't let them hurt Emma and Tyler." "That is extremely inadvisable," Commander Zeph warned. "If these individuals are working with hostile government factions, your safety cannot be guaranteed." "They're here because of me," Lisa insisted. "I have to face them." Emma grabbed her mother's arm. "Not alone, you don't. We're in this together." Tyler nodded firmly. "Uncle Frank left this responsibility to our family. We'll handle it as a family." The three aliens exchanged rapid communications in their own languages before Commander Zeph spoke. "Very well. But you will not go unprotected." Engineer Koto handed Lisa a small device that looked like an ordinary pen. "Emergency beacon. If you are threatened, activate this and our extraction team will respond immediately." As they made their way upstairs, they could hear voices in the convenience store. Jake was arguing with someone, while other voices discussed containment protocols and asset recovery. Lisa opened the door between the office and the store to find Jake standing with Amy and three men in dark suits. The men had the bearing of military or intelligence operatives, and they were examining the store with professional interest. "Lisa," Jake called out when he saw her. "There you are. These gentlemen need to speak with you about Uncle Frank's property." The tallest of the three men stepped forward. "Ms. Martinez, I'm Agent Crawford from a federal task force investigating unusual electromagnetic signatures in this area. We have reason to believe this facility may be connected to foreign technology testing." Lisa kept her voice steady. "This is just an old gas station. I inherited it from my uncle." Agent Crawford smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Ms. Martinez, we have satellite imagery showing energy emissions from this location that are inconsistent with any known Earth technology. We also have reports of unusual aircraft in this vicinity." Amy spoke up with a smug expression. "Lisa, you might as well tell them everything. They already know about the weird equipment you found." Emma stepped forward boldly. "How would you know about any equipment, Amy? You've never been inside this building." Jake's face reddened. "Don't take that tone with your stepmother, Emma." "She's not my stepmother," Tyler said firmly. "She's just the woman you cheated on Mom with." Agent Crawford held up a hand to stop the family argument. "Let's focus on the matter at hand. Ms. Martinez, we're prepared to offer you full compensation for any assets you turn over to federal custody. This doesn't have to be difficult." "And if I refuse?" Lisa asked. A second agent, who had been examining the old gas pumps, returned to the group. "Ma'am, we have legal authority to seize any technology that poses a potential national security risk." Emma pulled out her phone and started recording. "Are you threatening to steal my mother's property without a warrant?" Agent Crawford frowned.
Young lady, please put that device away.
"This is a classified matter." "Classified according to who?" Emma continued recording. "You haven't shown us any credentials or legal documents." The third agent moved to block Emma's view while his colleague whispered something to Agent Crawford. Lisa caught fragments of their conversation. Electromagnetic interference, possible contact scenario, and immediate containment. Tyler had been quietly observing everything, and now he stepped closer to Lisa. "Mom, I think these aren't really government agents." Agent Crawford's friendly facade dropped completely. "Everyone needs to calm down and cooperate. We know about the underground facility, and we know about the visitors you've been entertaining." Lisa felt the alien emergency beacon in her pocket and realized the situation was about to become very dangerous. These men knew too much to be ordinary federal agents, and their interests seemed more focused on seizing alien technology than protecting national security. "Jake, Lisa said quietly. You need to take Amy and leave right now. This isn't what you thought it was. But Jake was staring at Agent Crawford with growing confusion. You said this was about hidden assets from Uncle Frank's will. You didn't say anything about government seizures. Agent Crawford ignored Jake and signaled to his colleagues. Initiate containment protocol. Secure all personnel. One of the agents moved toward Emma, who was still recording with her phone. Ma'am, I need you to surrender that device immediately. Don't touch my daughter, Lisa said, stepping between Emma and the agent. The situation escalated quickly. The agent reaching for Emma's phone suddenly stopped mid-motion, his eyes going wide. Behind him, the front door of the convenience store had opened, and Commander Zeff was entering with his hands clearly visible, but his 7-foot scaled form impossible to mistake for human. Amy screamed and stumbled backward into Jake, who stood frozen in shock. The 3 supposed federal agents immediately drew weapons, but their guns seemed to malfunction as they tried to aim them. Weapons are temporarily disabled, Commander Zeff said calmly. We wish no harm to anyone, but we cannot allow this situation to continue. Agent Crawford was speaking rapidly into a radio device, but only static came out. Jamming field activated, he said to his colleagues. This is definitely the source. Engineer Koto and Diplomat Vex appeared behind Commander Zeff, their alien appearances making it clear that this was no longer a simple property dispute. Tyler looked at his father with disappointment. Dad, you just helped bad guys try to steal alien technology from Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy. Jake's mouth was opening and closing without sound. Amy had fainted and was being supported by one of the agents. Agent Crawford regained his composure quickly. Alien contact protocol is now in effect. Everyone in this building is now under federal jurisdiction. I'm afraid that's not accurate, Commander Zeff replied. This facility holds diplomatic status under several galactic treaties. You have no jurisdiction here. Emma was still recording everything. Mom, the whole world needs to see this, but the next few hours changed everything for humanity. Commander Zeff's extraction team arrived in ships that were impossible to hide from the world's satellites and radar systems. Within minutes, every major news network was broadcasting footage of alien vessels landing in the Arizona desert. Lisa found herself aboard one of the ships with Emma, Tyler, and the 3 aliens who had become their guides to galactic civilization. Through the ship's viewing screens, they could see military helicopters and news crews surrounding the gas station below. The containment approach has failed, Commander Zeff said, monitoring communications from around the globe. Your species will now learn about galactic contact whether we intended it or not. Emma was watching news feeds on the ship's computers. Every government on Earth is demanding explanations. Some are calling it an invasion. Tyler pressed his face against the viewing screen. Are we really in space, Mom? Lisa looked out at the curve of Earth below them and felt overwhelmed by the beauty and fragility of their home planet. Yes, honey, we're really in space. Agent Crawford and his team had been left behind at the gas station, where they were now surrounded by real federal agents who were just as confused as everyone else. Jake and Amy had been taken to a hospital, both in shock from their encounter with beings they hadn't believed could exist. The Galactic Trade Consortium Council has called an emergency session, Diplomat Vex announced, its energy form pulsing with urgent colors. Earth's situation has become a matter of immediate galactic concern. Engineer Koto was working at multiple computer stations simultaneously. Several hostile factions are already moving ships toward your solar system. They claim they're responding to an invasion alert, but they're actually positioning for possible occupation. Lisa felt her heart sink. So because those agents forced everything into the open, Earth is now in danger? Not necessarily, Commander Zeff replied. But your planet's timeline for joining galactic civilization has been compressed from decades to hours. Within an hour, they were aboard a massive consortium vessel that served as a mobile diplomatic center. Representatives from dozens of alien species were arriving for the emergency session that would determine Earth's fate. Lisa, Emma, and Tyler were given quarters to prepare for what Commander Zeff called humanity's greatest presentation. The weight of representing their entire species to beings they still barely understood was almost paralyzing. I can't do this, Lisa said, sitting on the edge of an alien bed that adjusted itself to her body. I'm not qualified to speak for all of humanity. Emma sat beside her mother. Mom, I've been studying the files Uncle Frank left behind. He didn't think he was qualified either when he started. But he learned to focus on showing aliens what makes humans special, not trying to prove we're perfect. Tyler was examining the viewing screen that showed dozens of alien ships gathering for the session. Besides, we know more about humans than any alien does. We know what it's like to be scared and brave at the same time. Engineer Koto entered their quarters carrying what looked like formal clothing adapted for humans. The council session will begin in 1 hour. Lisa Martinez, you will have 30 minutes to present humanity's case for immediate consortium membership. 30 minutes to save the world, Lisa said weakly. Not save, Diplomat Vex corrected as it drifted into the room. To prove that your world is worth having as an equal partner in galactic civilization. Commander Zeph joined them, carrying a portable computer displaying the agenda for the session. You will be presenting to representatives from 47 different species. Some are friendly to humanity, others are neutral, and several are actively hostile. Emma looked at the alien faces on the screen. What do the hostile ones want to do with Earth? Military occupation and resource extraction, Commander Zeph replied bluntly. They argue that humans are too primitive and dangerous to be trusted with galactic technology. Tyler studied the images of the hostile species. They look really mean. How are we supposed to convince them we're good? By showing them what Uncle Frank spent 30 years documenting, Lisa said, feeling a spark of determination. That humans create beauty even in the middle of suffering. That we help each other even when it's difficult. That we never stop trying to become better than we are. Engineer Koto activated a holographic display showing the presentation materials they had prepared. You will have access to 30 years of cultural trade records, documentation of human cooperation projects, and real-time demonstrations of human creativity. Most importantly, Diplomat Vex added, you will have the opportunity to simply be yourself. Many council species have never encountered humans directly. Your genuine responses to their questions may be more valuable than any formal presentation. As they made their way to the council chamber, Lisa was amazed by the diversity of alien life forms they encountered. Some species looked almost human. Others were completely geometric patterns of light, and a few defied any description at all. The council chamber itself was enormous, with seating arranged for species that breathed different atmospheres, existed at different temperatures, and perceived reality through entirely different senses. When Lisa stepped up to the speaking platform with Emma and Tyler beside her, she found herself facing the most diverse gathering of intelligent life in the galaxy. The session began with hostile questions from a species that looked like living crystal formations. Humans have engaged in over 14,000 separate military conflicts in the past millennium. How can such a violent species be trusted with galactic technology? Lisa took a deep breath. You're right that humans fight. We fight when we're scared, when we're protecting something we love, or when we believe something is unfair. But we also fight against hunger, disease, and ignorance. We fight to protect those who can't protect themselves. Emma stepped forward. And we've been learning to fight with words and ideas instead of weapons. Our wars are becoming less frequent as we develop better ways to solve problems. A species that resembled a flowing liquid questioned them next. Human cultural exports suggest an obsession with individual achievement rather than collective good. This indicates dangerous selfishness, Tyler answered before Lisa could speak. We do celebrate individual success, but our best stories are about individuals who sacrifice for others. Our heroes aren't the ones who get rich or famous. They're the ones who help people. Lisa nodded. Humans believe that each person has unique value and potential. But we also believe that individuals have responsibility to their communities. Our greatest achievements come when we combine individual creativity with collective effort. The questioning continued for hours, with each species probing different aspects of humanity. Some were concerned about Earth's environmental problems, others about human social inequalities, and several about humanity's potential for technological development. Engineer Koto provided technical demonstrations of human innovations that had impressed galactic observers. Medical devices developed by individuals working to save family members, renewable energy systems created by communities trying to protect their environment, and communication technologies built by people trying to connect across vast distances. Emma presented analysis of human cultural evolution, showing how art, music, and literature had consistently promoted cooperation and understanding between different human groups. She demonstrated how human creativity flourished most when diverse cultures shared ideas rather than remaining isolated. But the real turning point came when a conflict erupted among the council members themselves. Two species that had been enemies for centuries began arguing about territorial rights in a distant star system. Their representatives started shouting in languages that made the universal translators malfunction, and the session threatened to collapse into chaos. Lisa watched the argument escalating and realized this was exactly the kind of situation humans dealt with every day. Without thinking, she stepped forward and began speaking in a calm, clear voice. "Excuse me, but I think you're both right about different parts of the same problem," Lisa said, addressing the two arguing species. "You're angry because you both need the same resources to take care of your people, but you're so focused on why you can't share that you're not talking about how you might share." The chamber fell silent as Lisa continued. On Earth, we have something called mediation. When people are fighting over something important, sometimes an outside person can help them find solutions they can't see when they're angry. Tyler stepped up beside his mother. "It's like when me and Emma fight over the computer. We both need it for homework, but we fight about who gets it instead of making a schedule." Emma nodded. "Mom always helps us figure out ways that we can both get what we need, even if we can't both get everything we want." Lisa turned to the two arguing species. "Would you be willing to let me try to help? I don't know anything about your specific situation, but I know a lot about helping people find common ground." Commander Zeph looked amazed. "Lisa Martinez, these species have been in conflict for over 800 years. Multiple diplomatic attempts have failed. Maybe they needed someone who doesn't know all the reasons why it's impossible," Lisa replied. For the next hour, Lisa facilitated a discussion between the two species using techniques she had learned as a nurse, dealing with difficult patients and worried families. 6 months after the emergency council session that changed Earth's destiny, Lisa stood in the transformed basement of what had once been Uncle Frank's gas station. The chamber now served as Earth's official diplomatic center, equipped with advanced communication systems that connected their planet to the galactic community. The gas station above still looked ordinary from the outside, serving coffee and snacks to travelers on the desert highway, but now it also quietly hosted weekly cultural exchange meetings, distributed beneficial alien technologies, and stood as proof that the most extraordinary things could hide in the most ordinary places. Emma had become Earth's youngest xenotechnology specialist, working with alien engineers to adapt galactic innovations for human use. At 17, she was already collaborating with scientists from a dozen different species on projects that would revolutionize human medicine and environmental protection. Tyler, now 13, had developed an unusual talent for alien languages and served as an unofficial cultural interpreter. His natural curiosity and lack of adult prejudices made him popular with visiting alien delegates, who often requested his help in understanding human social customs. Lisa herself had settled into her role as Earth's primary liaison to the Galactic Trade Consortium. She split her time between her work as a nurse, which kept her grounded in everyday human concerns, and her diplomatic responsibilities, which were expanding as more species expressed interest in cultural exchange with humanity. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Jake and Amy had struggled to understand their new reality, especially after news footage showed Lisa mediating between alien species. Jake had eventually apologized for his role in the incident with the fake federal agents, admitting he had been manipulated by people who promised him wealth in exchange for information about the gas station. The real federal agents had turned out to be more reasonable than anyone expected. Once they understood that Earth had been in peaceful contact with galactic civilization for decades, they worked with Lisa to establish proper protocols for managing humanity's integration into the larger universe. Agent Crawford and his team had been arrested for attempting to steal alien technology under false pretenses. Their organization, Apex Industries, was exposed as a private military contractor that had been trying to acquire alien technology for weapons development. The scandal had led to congressional hearings and new laws governing contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. "Mom, you need to see this," Emma called from one of the computer terminals. She was reviewing the latest trade reports from the galactic marketplace. Lisa walked over to find Emma displaying charts showing the enormous success of Earth's cultural exports. Human music, art, Literature and innovative problem-solving approaches were now traded throughout the galaxy. The profits had grown far beyond Uncle Frank's original success. "We've officially become the wealthiest new member species in consortium history," Emma reported. "The profits from cultural trades have reached 500 million galactic credits." Tyler looked up from a language lesson he was taking with a holographic teacher from the Luminar Collective. "What does that mean for regular people on Earth?" Lisa consulted another display, showing the various humanitarian projects that were secretly funded by alien trade profits. "It means we can solve most of the problems that have been hurting people for generations." Clean water systems were being installed in impoverished regions worldwide, powered by alien energy technology that appeared to be advanced solar panels, but were actually quantum energy converters. Medical research was advancing rapidly, thanks to alien biological sciences that could cure diseases without anyone realizing the breakthroughs came from off-world sources. Educational programs were being funded in developing countries, using teaching methods that aliens had found effective across species. Environmental restoration projects were beginning worldwide, employing alien biotechnology that could repair damaged ecosystems in decades rather than centuries. "The key is doing it gradually," Lisa explained to her children. "We can't just suddenly give everyone alien technology. People need time to understand and accept change." Commander Zeph entered the chamber carrying reports from the latest Consortium Council meeting. Over the months, he had become not just an alien contact, but a genuine friend to Lisa's family. "The Council has approved Earth's proposal for the Cultural Exchange Academy," he announced. "Humans will soon be able to study on other worlds, and alien students will come to Earth to learn about human creativity and problem-solving." Emma was immediately interested. "When can I apply to study xenotechnology on Mentari homeworld?" "The first exchange programs will begin next year," Commander Zeph replied. "But Tyler, the Council specifically requested that you consider joining the diplomatic training program. Your natural ability to communicate across species barriers is remarkable." Tyler grinned. "Would I get to visit lots of different planets?" "Eventually, yes," Commander Zeph confirmed. "Young diplomatic trainees often travel throughout the galaxy as they learn to work with different species." Lisa felt a mixture of pride and worry. Her children were growing up with opportunities she could never have imagined, but they were also facing responsibilities that no human children had ever carried before. Engineer Koto joined them, along with Diplomat Vex, who had become a regular presence at the gas station. The three aliens had essentially become part of Lisa's extended family, eating dinner with them several times a week and helping with homework that now included lessons on galactic history and interspecies relations. "There is news from Earth's governments," Engineer Koto reported. "The United Nations has voted to establish an official Department of Galactic Affairs, with you as the proposed director." Lisa shook her head. "I can't take a government position. I need to stay independent so I can represent all humans, not just one country's interests." "That's exactly what they hoped you would say," Diplomat Vex added, its energy form glowing with amusement. "The position would be independent of any single government, funded by the trade profits you've been managing." Tyler was working on a math problem that involved calculating trade routes between star systems. "Mom, if you become the official boss of Talking to Aliens, does that mean Emma and I get to be assistant ambassadors?" "You already are assistant ambassadors," Lisa laughed. "Half the alien species we work with specifically ask about how you two are doing." Emma looked up from her technology studies. "Speaking of which, the Nereid delegation wants to know if we can provide more examples of human music that combines different cultural styles. Apparently, our jazz fusion recordings are incredibly popular in their sector." Lisa had learned to find musicians and artists who were willing to share their work with galactic audiences, usually without knowing exactly where their art was going. The cover story was that they were contributing to an international cultural exchange program, which was technically true. "I've been working with a group of musicians in New Orleans who blend jazz, blues, and electronic music," Lisa said. "Their work should be perfect for species that appreciate complex emotional expression." Commander Zeph consulted his handheld device. "There is also a request from the Council for documentation of human conflict resolution techniques. Several species are interested in learning the mediation methods you demonstrated during the territorial dispute." Lisa felt proud that her simple nursing background had contributed something valuable to galactic civilization. I can work with some mediators and counselors to create training materials. But they should understand that human methods work because they're based on understanding emotions, not just logic. That is exactly why these methods are so valuable, Diplomat Vex explained. Most species approach conflict resolution through pure rational analysis. The idea of addressing emotional needs as well as logical requirements is revolutionary. Tyler finished his math problem and turned to face the adults. Can I ask something? Are there any species out there that are still dangerous to Earth? The three aliens exchanged glances before Commander Zeph answered carefully. There are always factions that prefer conquest to cooperation, but Earth is now under consortium protection, and your planet's rapid success has impressed even the most skeptical species. Plus, Engineer Koto added, humans have proven to be valuable allies. Several species have already requested human assistance with problems they can't solve using conventional approaches. Emma was scanning through diplomatic communications on her computer. Look at this. The geometric pattern species wants help designing living spaces that improve psychological well-being. They've realized that logical efficiency isn't the same as comfortable living. Lisa smiled. Humans have had thousands of years of practice making small spaces feel like home. As evening approached, the alien visitors prepared to return to their temporary base in the nearby mountains. They maintained a permanent presence on Earth now, but they were careful to keep their profile low while humanity adjusted to galactic contact. Tomorrow we begin preparation for the next trade summit, Commander Zeph announced. Earth will be presenting its first